If this word reaches you tonight, just take a second to subscribe and stay with me, because what I'm about to share might be the exact thing you've been waiting to hear. There is a silence some of you are living in right now that feels like it's crushing you. Not the peaceful kind of silence, not the restful kind. I mean the silence after the phone call that never came. The silence in a house where laughter used to live. The silence when you pray and pray and pray, and heaven just doesn't answer. You lie awake at 2 in the morning, staring at the ceiling, and you whisper, "God, are you even there?" And nothing comes back. No sign, no voice, no comfort, just silence pressing down on your chest like a weight you can't name. I want to tell you something that might change the way you hear that silence forever. Jesus never promised that heaven would always speak loudly. Sometimes, heaven moves in the quiet. Sometimes the very silence that feels like abandonment is actually the sound of mountains being moved. Not with noise, not with thunder, but underneath the surface, where you cannot see it yet. What if the thing you've been mistaking for God's absence was actually God's most furious activity? Let me take you somewhere for a moment. Think of a woman named Sarah. Not her real name, just someone whose story you'll recognize, because maybe it's a little bit yours. Sarah prayed for her marriage for 6 years. 6 years of silence. 6 years of watching her husband pull further away. 6 years of church pews where she sat alone and smiled so no one would ask questions. She used to whisper in her car before walking into work, "Just give me a sign, God. Just one sign that you're still listening." And for 6 years, nothing. No breakthrough, no miracle text message, no moment where everything suddenly made sense. Just the quiet ache of unanswered prayer, day after day after day. Maybe you know that ache. Maybe it's not a marriage. Maybe it's a diagnosis you're waiting on results for. Maybe it's a child who stopped calling. Maybe it's a dream you buried so deep you don't even say it out loud anymore, because saying it out loud means admitting how much it hurts that it hasn't happened. Maybe it's standing in a hospital hallway at 3 a.m., hearing machines beep, and realizing that all your prayers in that moment have shrunk down to just one word: please. And even that single word feels like it's disappearing into nothing. There's a particular kind of pain that comes from praying into what feels like an empty room. It's different from ordinary sadness. It's the pain of feeling forgotten by the very one you thought would never forget you. It makes you question everything. It makes you wonder if faith was ever real, or if you were just talking to yourself the whole time, dressing up your loneliness in religious language to make it feel less pathetic. I know that thought. I know how sharp it cuts. Because doubt doesn't always come loud. Sometimes doubt comes as a slow leak, draining your hope, one quiet disappointment at a time. Think about a man, let's call him David, who lost his job right after his wife lost hers too. Same month, same year, everything fell apart. He used to be the strong one in the family, the one who prayed over dinner with confidence, the one whose faith the kids leaned on. But 3 months into unemployment, savings gone, bills stacking on the kitchen counter like a paper mountain, David sat in his garage alone one night and just broke. Not dramatically, not with anyone watching, just quietly, with his head in his hands, wondering what he did wrong to deserve this kind of silence from God. He wasn't angry. He was just tired. Bone tired, soul tired. The kind of tired that no amount of sleep can fix. Have you ever been there? Have you ever reached the point where you stopped asking why because you were too exhausted to even form the question anymore? Where prayer stopped sounding like words and just became a kind of low, wordless groaning inside your chest? That's not weakness. That's not a lack of faith. That is one of the most honest places a human being can stand. I want you to know something right now, and I want you to really let it land. If you're in a season like this, if the silence around you feels unbearable, type Amen in the comments right now. Not because I'm asking for a reaction, but because sometimes just declaring that word out loud, or typing it with shaking hands, is the first crack in the wall of doubt. It's a small act of defiance against despair. It says, I still believe even when I can't feel it. Friends, I want to be honest with you for a moment. This channel is not monetized. There are no ads, no income from YouTube. Every video you watch here is made purely with dedication and love, just for you. If this content has ever touched your heart, helped you through a hard night, or given you even a moment of peace, and if you feel moved to support this work, you can scan the QR code on screen or click the link in the description. Even the smallest contribution means the world and helps keep this mission alive. Truly. Now let me bring you back to Sarah, because her story doesn't end in that car, whispering into silence. One ordinary Tuesday, no lightning, no dramatic moment, just an ordinary gray Tuesday. Her husband sat down across from her at the kitchen table and said, I think I've been running from something inside myself, not from you. That sentence didn't fix 6 years of pain in an instant, but it cracked something open. And when she looks back now, she realizes the 6 years of silence weren't 6 years of nothing. They were 6 years where something invisible was shifting in her husband's heart, something she couldn't see, something that had to happen slowly, painfully, privately, before it could ever surface into words at a kitchen table. The mountain was moving the entire time. She just couldn't hear the sound of it moving. That's the strange mercy hidden inside silence. Mountains don't move with noise. Have you ever actually watched erosion happen? You can't. Not with your eyes, not in real time. A canyon carved by a river looks on any given day like absolutely nothing is happening. The water just moves quietly over stone, over and over, day after day, year after year. And yet centuries later, there's a canyon deep enough to hold a cloud. The change was never visible in the moment. It was only visible in hindsight. Maybe that's what your waiting season is. Maybe you are standing inside your own canyon in progress, and you cannot see the depth being carved because you're too close to the stone. Think about David in that garage. 2 years later, and I promise you it was not overnight. It was not a miracle montage. David found himself running a small repair business out of that very garage. It started with one neighbor's broken fence, then another neighbor's shed. Then someone recommended him to a cousin. Slowly, painfully, unglamorously, something new grew out of the wreckage of what fell apart. He told me once, I used to think God left me in that garage to rot. Now I realize he was building something in me while I sat there broken. Something I never would have built if life had stayed comfortable. There's a kind of transformation that only happens in silence, because silence strips away everything loud enough to distract you from what's actually happening inside your own soul. When the noise of easy answers disappears, you're forced to sit with the real questions. Who am I when nothing is going right? What do I actually believe when there's no evidence in front of me? Do I trust the character of God, or did I only trust His timing? These questions don't get answered in the noise of a good day. They get answered in the ache of a silent one. I think about the way a seed grows underground, completely hidden, completely silent for weeks before anything breaks the surface. If you dug it up on day 3 to check on its progress, you would destroy it. The very darkness and silence you're afraid of might be the only environment your breakthrough can actually grow in. Light, too soon, can kill a root that isn't ready yet. Maybe heaven isn't ignoring your prayer. Maybe heaven is protecting the process by keeping it hidden until it's strong enough to survive open air. Let me tell you about a teenager. We'll call her Maya, who lost her father suddenly, no warning, just a phone call one afternoon that split her life into before and after. She stopped talking to God for almost a year, not out of rebellion, but out of grief so heavy that words felt pointless. She used to sit in his old truck in the driveway, just to smell what was left of him in the fabric of the seats. And she'd sit there in complete silence, not praying, not crying anymore, just existing inside the loss. People kept telling her, God has a plan, and she wanted to scream, because right then, a plan was the last thing she wanted. She wanted her father back. She didn't want a lesson. She didn't want a silver lining. And I want to say this clearly, because I think it matters more than almost anything else in this message. Sometimes faith isn't about finding the lesson in the pain right away. Sometimes faith is just staying in the room with God, even when you have nothing to say to Him. Maya didn't find peace through a sudden revelation. She found it slowly, through small moments. A song that played at the right time. A stranger who sent something her father used to say. A sunset that felt for reasons she couldn't explain, like a hand on her shoulder. None of these were loud. None of them were dramatic. But looking back, she says now, I think that whole year was heaven sitting with me in the silence, not lecturing me out of it. Maybe that's what you need to hear tonight too. Maybe you've been waiting for a voice from the sky, a clear answer written in the clouds, a sign so obvious you couldn't miss it, and instead what you got was just quiet companionship. A friend who called at the right moment. A verse that seemed to jump off the page. A stranger's kindness on a day you thought no one saw you. These aren't consolation prizes. These might actually be the mountain moving. There's a version of you somewhere ahead in time who has already walked through this season. And when I imagine that future version of you looking back at tonight, I don't think they see wasted time. I think they see the exact turning point where everything started shifting, even though it was invisible to you in the moment. I think they're grateful for this very silence, because it's teaching you something that comfort never could have taught you. How to stand when there's nothing to stand on except trust. So if you're in that hard, quiet place right now, if your prayers feel like they're bouncing off a ceiling and falling back down on you unanswered, I don't want you to mistake the quiet for absence. I don't want you to walk away from this believing you've been forgotten. Somewhere underneath everything you can see, something is shifting. Something is being carved. Something is being planted. Something is being carried that you cannot yet hold in your own two hands. And the silence you're afraid of might just be the sound of that mountain, finally, quietly beginning to move.
My child, before you go, please like this video, subscribe to this channel, turn on the bell icon, and comment if you believe I am guiding your life. May blessings follow you today.